So I have a pretty pressing problem with social media the way it works right now. There are far too many social networks. And when I get back in time and I remember the old days of forums and ICQ and before that IRC, basically it was a lot easier to create communities of people with common interests and kind of keep them more or less in the same place, right? Like having just a few networks in IRC and having almost no alternatives other than AO and MSN, which specific people were using for certain things. It was kind of easier to just hang out with people in the same place. Having forums which were kind of dedicated on specific activities makes it easier to just bond with people again with common interests within that same specific circle. And some would argue that it's kind of similar right now with having different groups on Facebook or so on, but I'd say that this is actually not the case. And there's the evolution of social media has been going on for a while now, and it's really hard to actually connect to people on social nowadays. I've made lots of experiments, like I go on Twitter, pick a random list that has been maintained a 3 years ago. I even did that last night with a friend. I just saw that most accounts, or at least kind of a third of the accounts, haven't been posting at all for a year or two, which means they're not using Twitter, which is fine. But others are just out to posting links, or people are not writing but just sharing and retweeting, which is kind of weird. It really doesn't spark discussions. Lots of people aren't there. If you follow them, they won't even notice. If you write them a direct message, they won't even notice, and so on. Then you go on LinkedIn and you see the same thing. Like, lots of people have accounts. It's really exploding nowadays, and quite a lot of people are actually moving from Facebook or other places to LinkedIn after Microsoft's acquisition, which I find weird, but I don't mind because I like LinkedIn. But again, lots of people, they don't see their requests. User experience is pretty horrible on LinkedIn. It's just making me crazy, especially on desktop, to be honest. And so forth. So that's another whole other medium that's not in use. Facebook, lots of people try to avoid it for business, or those that do business, it gets a bit weird because it really kind of mixes both things together. Like you want to maintain a professional outlook, and then you post photos of eating food or drinking beers in a bar. It's just, I don't mind that. Like, I'm not saying you really need to be completely business professional and so on, but it's just kind of mixing two things. Or if you're using Facebook entirely for business, I also find that weird. It's not kind of the purpose of the network like it is with LinkedIn. Then you have other networks like YouTube, where you can try to communicate with channel authors which are not replying to comments, which is insulting. Not to mention that this is kind of the norm for many Facebook pages and Twitter accounts and whatnot. So I think that social media is broken for various reasons. Lots of people use it as a one-way street for promotion. And again, I don't mind that at all. Like, I do the same thing with my accounts, with my posts, with my videos and everything else. But I also do interact, and I also use the media as kind of equal citizen, as someone who's actually active, following other people, reading other posts, interacting with others' content, and so on. And I find it a bit weird where I'm trying to write some comments and respond to people on other posts, and there's pretty much literally no one. It's like it's almost like a press release. You just launch something online and you say, hey, I did this ABC, you can contact me, here are my contact details. Like, what the hell, bro? That's social media. It's not how it's supposed to work. And in a nutshell, again, lots of people have accounts everywhere, but they don't really use almost any of those accounts, or they only use Facebook for fun, so that they just happen to see what else is going on. Not even going to touch on Google Plus. We all know what happened there. Nothing. As someone said the other day, I really felt bad. I didn't want to be alone, so I just opened Google Plus. But again, I'm digressing. It's really the way we use social media nowadays. It's not really how we are supposed to do that. It has to be an equal process of participating and also kind of receiving information, kind of being informed or so on. Facebook is de facto the largest social network nowadays, even though I think that YouTube is the second largest kind of search engine. so that's also something worth noting. But both aren't really receiving that many interactions, even though Facebook obviously is the winner because their groups are fine. Interacting with people is fine, so forth. But youngsters, the Generation Z, is really trying to dodge Facebook because they see it as a platform for old people. And lots of interviews say, like interviewing people aged 15 to 20 or so, they just say, well, I don't really want to use Facebook. My parents are there, my grandparents are there. Like, I don't feel like sharing everything up to my family. It's like, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't resonate with them, which is kind of fine. But what they do is they go on Instagram and Snapchat, which is a completely other way of interacting with people and actually kind of expressing something and just making some bond. On the other end, from a professional standpoint, if you just want to, again, interact with people just from a networking perspective, again, lots of people are looking, like, they claim that they're open for networking. They go to networking events online, but they're closed offline. You don't have a basis for contacting those people. Like, they don't write blog posts. They probably write those press releases on LinkedIn and so on, but they don't comment on them. They don't respond to discussions. They don't participate otherwise. And you end up talking to the wall. I mean, there's literally no interactivity. And at the same time, so there was WordCamp Europe almost a month ago, and I shared on Twitter that I'm not going to participate. And lots of people say, hey, you're going to be missed. We haven't seen each other for a while. We haven't interacted for quite some time, yada, yada. And I do appreciate that. And it's nice because I also miss those people and would have some fun spending some time with them. But those are people who, again, they read my status and I'm active there, and they never really reach out on direct message or just texting me or asking for Skype or anything like that. Just interacting. They're like, hey, really wanted to see you in person, even though we are actually here and we can actually chat and have a conversation. I know it's online, but I mean, we can jump on a Hangout or whatever and actually have a conversation or a call or anything. And that's why I think that social media is broken. It's not supposed to work like a monitoring tool. It's not supposed to work like a public feed of your accomplishments or your photos over the weekend, which again, for Facebook and Instagram, I think it's fine. But the rest is really networking should be done right. And currently there's no single medium that you know that the majority of people are following and using and would be happy kind of interacting with other people, and a kind of a best practice etiquette for how okay it is to interact with other people. It's so really weird. Again, if you go to a networking event, you're supposed, or like a conference, a meetup, or and anything else, you're supposed to interact with people. You're supposed to work with people alongside with them, and spend time with them and whatnot. So there's no stigma around actually interacting with those people. But on social media, it's weird. It's supposed to be social, and most people don't respond to comments or replies. And like, I've had so many times actually reporting, kind of seeing a blog post, seeing a broken link there, reporting a broken link, and this link is dead even if I've reported it twice, just because people don't read those emails. Not to mention that some celebrities, they do have personal assistants and virtual assistants handling email, and they actually ignore most of those emails, which is even weirder. So yeah, in a nutshell, what I'd like to conclude is keeping in touch. I do think it's the right thing to actually do networking. When you like someone's something, whatever it is, accomplishment, a status, don't be afraid to just comment. I'm actually chatting with a lot of people, just sending them a message as well, like, hey, I'm seeing that your business works really well, it's evolving, really happy to see you moving forward, just keep up the great work. Or I see that someone did something or volunteered somewhere, and say, that's a great cause, keep up the great work, it's really, motivation. So I don't want to act like, a life coach or something, or motivational coach, but it's really a way to actually bond with people. And sometimes, like, the only way to connect, like, I have specific people that I chat with, and they know that they're only active in a specific network, so I have to maintain like 10 of them in order to make it work. So yeah, if you have a social media account, make sure at least your notifications are on so that you can receive messages. If you receive too many messages, maybe you just need to block some people or something, but otherwise make sure you're accessible, try to interact with other people, make some good deeds, and use social as it's supposed to do.